Welcome back, everyone, to Hearthstone Grandmasters, our final match for today, as it is the last best of five to determine who is going to the top four on Sunday, is between bloodyface and Zalae. It is a rematch, and the same bands are in. So with that, no warrior available to Zalae. Looks like that big warrior just on perma-ban status, which means it's a good bring this week. And then Zalae has his Demon Hunter, his Druid, and his Priest versus the Demon Hunter, Warrior, and the Rogue. So once more, some pretty decent diversity going into this best of five here. As the Lage Druid looked pretty unstoppable in the last series, and Bloodyface's lineup shares similarities to that of Frozen, which makes me wonder if we're going to see something similar to actually the previous series.
Yeah, a couple differences with the Demon Hunter and instead of the Tempo Mage, and the Rogues differ slightly, where Bloodyface has more of the stealth package, which can get off to much quicker starts than the secret package, which can sometimes be a little dead and forces you to kind of play more creatively in the mid game. But the overall, I think, strategy remains the same, and Druid can beat just about anything at any point in time. Zalae I wouldn't even say Zalae in a couple of his wins had like crazy good starts. It was just kind of the consistency of being able to play big threats, and maybe Frozen lacking removal in key turns was what ended up turning that around. But first matchup is going to be the Rogue for Bloodyface, which he's been opening with pretty much every game in both Conquest and Last Hero Standing. We talked very highly about the Rogue deck from Bloodyface when in his top 8 performance last week, where I believe he went 11-2, 9-2 with the Rogue. It was insane. It was ridiculous. A very solid win rate. So if you're comfortable with it and you're winning that much with it, you might as well queue it first in Last Hero Standing, because you have the opportunity for a sweep.
Yeah, that's right. The sweep seems to be really important and kind of hinged upon like a really key Game 2 victory. It seems like if you're up 2-0, you're very likely to get that sweep. That being said, this specific matchup dynamic, which is the Demon Hunter and the Rogue, is quite interesting to me, because Stealth Rogue up against the Demon Soul Hunter seems to be slightly unfavored for Rogue. But yeah, I personally think that this Rogue can give Demon Hunter a lot of problems. Not to mention the fact that you always have our good old reliable buddy, Edwin Van Cleef, as you saw a pretty deep sigh from Zalae. Not happy to see that so early in this game.
Yeah. The reason why the matchup can sometimes be poor is because, for the Rogue, is because, one, all the AoE from the Demon Hunter can completely interrupt any stealth shenanigans you're trying to pull off. You don't have many things in the deck outside of, like we said, our good old friend Edwin Van Cleef here that have more than 3 health for the Shard Shatter Mystic. Also, they really have no way to just interrupt insane amounts of healing from Aldraki Warblades. So a lot of times, if you can remove their early stuff and then initiate a race with Warblades equipped, you're going to win because you're healing for insane amounts of burst damage, and the Rogue deck doesn't have taunts. But Bloodyface's deck is constructed a little bit differently. It's got a little bit more value. It's got a little bit of a X factor with the potential for like lackeys and questing adventures that can get out of range of Blade Dance and the Shard Shatter Mystic. So I ain't counting him out yet, and he gets to stick in Edwin. Looks like, unless Bloodyface wants the secret passage here, that will be Edwin Van Cleef's last hurrah, one attack.
Yeah, and the idea is that like Edwin is just like a threat to deal with. It's not necessarily that like Edwin's going to end the game as a 6/6, even though he kind of can sometimes. It's the amount of pressure that Rogue's able to stack on top of it. So it's like this Infiltrator Lillian that looks really good, or does Bloodyface end up just kind of building up the board presence right back with his Special Delinquent and Hero Power? I think the Evil Miscreant and the Secret Passage dynamic with the Wand Thief is a little bit awkward, so I kind of want to just keep the pressure on. And that's how the Demon Hunter deck kind of feels like it struggles to me. But it is interesting because Zalae does seem to have that check because he does have AoE. So I do wonder if this ends up being like a thing where Bloodyface's aggression is halted so dramatically that Zalae can make that comeback.
Yeah, and it's possible that Bloodyface will have to be forced to switch to a value game plan, but against this Demon Hunter deck, they don't really care how much value you have. It doesn't change their game plan. They care not for value. They care only for damage. And unless that value that you're acquiring involves taunt minions and heal, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty close to ideal from Bloodyface. Or sorry, from Zalae's side. Bloodyface is Lillian traded into the Mystic. And so now... Okay, alright.
Yeah, Bloodyface doesn't play secrets in his deck, but he could discover one from Want Thief.
That's right. There you go.
What is that? Hexus Smuggler? The card was called? 2/3 that whenever you play a secret, discover a spell.
Yes. That card is... I've had it come up a couple times. And ended up being really nutty in some of those like mage deck, because I think it was like a Font of Power got generated. I was like, oh, I have a Pexus Smuggler and a bunch of random other stuff too. It was pretty interesting, but that card has popped off a couple times for me.
Yeah.
Still wouldn't really necessarily put it in my deck at the moment, but I also have seen a fair amount of Brian Kilber streams, and he is fond of that card.
On this matchup, it's very likely just a 2/3. But, I mean, 2/3 seems okay right now because Zalae doesn't really have anything going for him. The lower keeper Polkelt is just going to pull the Sociologist out, which not necessarily the card that you want next turn. It would draw the Skull in 2 turns to be able to outcast, but the way his hand is right now, I think he wants to have a card that he can better fight for board on 6 as opposed to going with the Polkelt. And maybe next turn he goes, no, because unless he draws Sociologist, it's always going to be his next card from Polkelt. All right, Questing Adventure.
So the question becomes Secret Passage versus Questing Adventure this turn. I don't think you would want to do both because they do seem to be at odds game plan wise versus each other.
Yeah. Wants to clear the board, finds Backstab, so that's the way to do it. Yeah, Backstab and Lillian. Or Backstab and Jandis, sure.
Big tempo. Wow. Rusty Raider loses his battle cry, which is kind of annoying. At the same time,
8 health taunt, and Kane is gone.
Still 8 health taunt. Helium Maximus would be safe behind that taunt theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, even if Zalae has a way to deal the damage to the Cumulo Maximus, I still think I'm just keeping the health on the taunt. Unless he just wants to go for the ultimate bait.
Yeah, there is a little bit of those mind game elements, which I always appreciate about Jandis. Marrow Slicer comes into the hand.
All right. So now it's... I mean, you might as well... Oh, it was!
Oh! Well, you know what? Actually, this makes sense because Bloodyface wants to keep the tempo on the board, and that 5/5 is way more threatening than the 1/8 long term. Especially because if Bloodyface had things like Soul Shear, you would have easily destroyed that. Wow, that ends up working out really nicely for Bloodyface. At least for this turn. We'll see if it pays off for him by the end of this game.
Yeah.
But right now, the early verdict is that was brilliant.
So the alternative there is Zalae attacks into the Rusty Raider. It's now a 1/6. He's gotten rid of his weapon charge. He Soul Shears the Cumulo Maximus to lead that off the board. So we'd have Polkelt versus
a 1/5 or 1/6.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god, the dream! TJ! Evocation and Secret Passage. Oh! The dream! Because what you end up getting all the spells, and then because they get shuffled into your deck, and then Secret Passage brings it back, you get all those spells back. It's actually really, really funny.
I'm a real spell now.
Wow, this dynamic is so fun to watch.
Yeah, the Cumulo Maximus, keeping that alive was better, because if you look at how this turn would have played out, he would have had a 1/6. Actually, I don't know. He still would have been able to kill the Questing Adventurer through it, but then he wouldn't have had a 5/5, wouldn't have pushed 5 damage, would have only pushed 1 damage. So yeah, that was... Going back to turn ago, I was trying to convince myself and let Bloodyface convince me that he made the right choice, and he did. Because now, look at this. I don't...
Yeah.
Do you want to trade a 4/5?
Is so annoying.
Oh, it's going to hit again.
Oh. Got 10 damage from that card.
A cruel fate
Yep.
awaits you.
Oh.
Whoa. Okay.
This Greyheart Sage again.
Do you want a questing adventure? Why not, right?
Give me a quest.
Yeah,
I don't think you
questing.
can really spend your mana effectively otherwise.
Yeah, he still has a lot of cheap stuff in his deck. He has both of his Spy Mistress. He still has a Backstab in his deck. So there's still a few draws that he can get that would get this questing bigger. It doesn't, but honestly, with that evocation in hand and him pushing what is probably some damage this turn, I mean, he might trade over.
Yeah, trading to the Lore Keeper and the Soul, and getting value trades on there seem to be a better deal.
Yeah. So,
but at the same time, it is 9 damage, and you have evocation the next turn. Wait,
what?
he's gonna go for the +1/+1. TJ, my heart is broken.
No!
Wow, I am so sad. That is such a good draw for Zalae. I'm so sad we didn't get to see it on broadcast. TJ.
To be honest, though,
I don't...
cool play, but probably terrible.
I grow.
Because
sure?
would you rather draw one of those random mage spells that you can't account for whatsoever, or would you rather draw a spell that you, or a card that you decided to put in your deck?
If it says put 6 random... For 1 mana, it says add 6 random mage spells to your hand. That is actually godlike card. That actually card would be nerfed out of existence. That card is too powerful.
Well, to your deck. If you
No, to your
evocation,
hand.
okay, I see. What,
You.
I was
Because
saying
you evocate
the
and then you
evocation
secret passage. He concedes, but either way, Bloodyface get the win. Good job.
Yeah.
That Cumulo Maximus play was pretty dope.
Yeah. So you may be thinking, but Zalae could have picked up outs from the skull. He knew exactly what he was going to draw from the skull because he had played Lore Keeper Polkelt.
Right.
So it would have been Soul Shard Lapidary, Glaive-bound Adept, which not saving him in that situation.
No, it would not save him in that situation. But
Yeah. And I think that's what Bloodyface accounted for with the evocation. Because if he doesn't leave the questing, I can't remember the board state now, but I think the questing needed +1/+1.
I think it was like he would have to trade both into the questing adventure and the Cumulo Maximus, and that would leave Bloodyface with additional pressure, and he would lose everything in order to trade it. So it was just one of those things where it was just like good play because it forces Zalae in the bad spot. It's just that I always think like when I post at like 5 health or whatever, 6 health, it's like I just feel like generating random mage stuff is like always the way to really make it extra flashy. But
You're always
good on
finding
Bloodyface
lethal.
to not get baited by that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that causes games to be thrown, just because it feels like you have really fun things to do. I just wish that we could have seen it on broadcast because it's beautiful when it happens.
Yeah. All right. So guessing that Zalae is going to queue up Priest here. And if you remember back, or for those that didn't watch the first time these guys played today, the Rogue versus Priest matchup was insane for multiple reasons. One, we ran into some technical issues where Dan had to solo cash for like 10 minutes in a game where bloodyface tried to outvalue him and was stuck with a pyroblast in hand with Zalae at like 12 health for 4 turns. And eventually he fatigued him. And Zalae won the series because bloodyface just ran out of stuff except for a pyroblast that couldn't quite kill Zalae. So if we're going to get a similar game to that, there's going to be fireworks in this next game, assuming that Zalae queues the Priest, which I expect him to do.
Yeah, that's right. I think the Priest is pretty strong into that because they have a really good way to just like AoE shuts down things like the Infiltrator and the Ashtonic Slayers early. And then, you have a lot of removal for Van Cleef and Questing Adventure. And you can just kind of like stall out Rogue. Rogue just have like this small window that they can really punish, and Priest can draw awkwardly at times. But the Galacron Priest, that's what they shore up as their weak, to make sure that they're consistent with that. They get the AoE more often. They get the early game board presence. So I do feel like Galacron Priest in particular is a lot better at that than the Highlander Priest. The Highlander Priest are just kind of like trying to draw the right side of your deck when you're trying to play against aggro.
Yeah, you have a lot more like random minions in the deck in Galacron Priest, which against Rogue, you're as a Highlander Priest, sorry, and against Rogue, they have such great tempo tools that you're most of the time not wanting to just play a minion on board, hope it sticks, hope you get value out of it. So the much more lean, mean Galacron duplicates machine seems to be better positioned. Okay, Mind Render Lucia offered in the mulligan. What kind of player are you, Zalae?
I know Lucia against aggro in particular feels still very effective because you're not really trying to play it on like curve, right? But the thing is, you have to wait for a turn or two afterwards because you need to be able to play things like their coin, or in this case, they didn't have a coin, or cheap cards. And so if you're saying like Mind Render Lucia can only be played on like turn 5 or turn 4 at the earliest, it feels like the game already has been set into motion and you still need to have things like your AoE and your early game cards. So I can understand the logic between Zalae throwing it away. But that being said, I do feel like Lucia is still very effective against aggro decks.
Yeah. That was my thoughts as well. But Zalae is a man of consistency. No Highlander nonsense, no Lucia keep in the mulligan. Just wants minions to play. Okay. So, could just heal up this 1/2 and call it a day. Could also Sethic Veilweaver
Yeah.
coin renew.
That seems a little excessive. Sethic Veilweaver, coin renew.
It is excessive, maybe even only because he has the Cabal in hand. Could just play Sethic Veilweaver on the board, which I don't mind either. He's got another one in the deck. He's got 2 Raised Deads in the deck. More and more often now, we see the priests just play out Sethic Veilweaver because it does have a target on its back. And you don't absolutely have to have insane value from it early on in the game. I just like the playing minions. Oh man, Bloodyface's hand is getting a little weird. A little chonky.
Yeah, it's just clogged because it has proactive 3-drops, and right now he needs actually a reactive, like a reliable reactive play. and he can't. Like, Eviscerate and hit the Sethik Veilweaver is probably the play here, and it doesn't feel great.
Yeah, I mean, he could, like... he could Secret Passage.
Well, like, the worst part is that Zalae actually kind of wants that to happen, because then he Psycho Palms next turn and revives it.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to, like, I mean, and Bloodyface doesn't have any reason to play around it because Psycho Palm was generated through the Invoke.
Yeah.
And Bloodyface somehow able to restrain. I don't know if he's necessarily thinking specifically about Psycho Palm, but it just so happens to be very good against that.
Feels like it's going to be another one of them value games, Dan.
Rogue versus Priest, and who can generate a win condition first?
Yeah. Zalae slightly won out last time, but Bloodyface did not have an aggressive start. If you're not off to an aggressive start and you're having to play reactive, you're also going to have to play for value, or else you're just going to get muscled out of the game because Priest has enough time to find their removal tools, so you can't like all in effectively and reliably. So, Twin Tyrant, Skeletal Dragon, Deathwing. Skeletal Dragon's the cheapest, which has merit because right now he doesn't have a lot of great cards to just play on the board as a threat. Fate Weaver is the biggest, but he is playing a lot of Invoke cards, so looks like he is just going to play Fate Weaver actually.
Yeah, it looks like he just values that tempo, and
yeah,
I mean, this is very much Zalae's MO, which is play the biggest thing so it's in play and pressure your opponent. So it makes sense, and it's very consistent with the way he likes to approach the game, and I can't argue with this right now. Your opponent just kind of showed a very long decision into basically doing nothing, meaning that they probably are struggling with removal options, no backstab, for example. So if they have difficulty dealing with a 2-3, a 3-6 is kind of like the next step of that. So Bloodyface looking like he's in a good spot at the moment.
Yeah.
Or Zalae, rather, looking like he's in a good spot at the moment.
Whew.
So, I think Magic Trick is really good in Rogue. I think it gives you a very good suite of options, whether it's like really cheap tempo tools or just straight up removal.
Yeah. Mirror Image also can protect the big threats that he has on the other side of the Secret Passage, but Mirror Image could also offer, or Magic Trick could also offer Mirror Image and could offer Ray of Frost as well, which could do the same thing, just more flexible. But not a great spot to be in if you're Bloodyface. Too expensive of a hand to really do much of anything. And Zalae could get Cycle Pump value here. He could...
Yeah,
okay,
I mean,
looks like he wants value trades, actually.
Right. I mean, I think I just like the idea of picking value trades and just having a 1-2 that revives with the Reborn, because he's clearly on like a tempo plan and just trying to utilize the fact that he's climbing ahead on board, and Rogue has very little access to AD. So at this point, Zalae is just kind of playing Zoo, and Bloodyface does not have backstab or SI7 agent, and I kind of feel like that's just that'd be the dynamic that Zalae goes with.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, I can appreciate, because that's a pretty unusual way for people to play Priest in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. And with a board like this is sort of when Sethik Veilweaver really has a lot of power, because if you start getting cards that buff your own minions, like you renew on Fate Weaver and pick up Interfire or Interfire off the random Sethik spell or Apotheosis, even Psyche Split when you have board advantage can be incredibly powerful. Ooh, Wave of Apathy would have been sick there.
Yeah. I mean, not enough mana to actually play it, though, if he gets it off the Cleric of Scales.
Yeah.
Maybe Renew first?
Yep.
Master Spell. Wait. Is there anything you can do with Unsleeping Soul? No.
I mean, he could just make another 3/6.
Sure.
Just keep pressing that board advantage. But Mass Dispel, he could just use it to kill off this Lillian. Bloodyface invests an entire turn in it. Honestly, seems better than an extra 3/6 because, well, it would be an extra 3/6 and you'd get a spell from Setting Veilweaver in hand. But Mass Dispel shuts off Ash Tongue Slayer, shuts off Greyheart Sage. Zalae wants a 3/6.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just makes sense, given that it also gives him a random card, which is potentially really powerful.
Yeah.
And Bloodyface still is struggling to remove this dragon. He's just ahead. So from here, he has to figure out how to build his board back here. And I think it has to. Okay, he's going with Jandis. I was kind of thinking about a play that involved Eviscerate to get himself back. Oh, jeez. Very, very weak options as 5 drops right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, like, Shadow Step is something that he can ever entertain the idea of, but right now he's in dire straits here, DJ.
He could Shadow Step the Jandis and try and re-go next turn. I feel like he needs to kind of high roll this Jandis in order to have a chance. Like get an Earth Elemental and dodge a Shadow or Death, or get a Rush Minion that can get him back on the board, or multiple Rush Minions that can get him back on the board. Like a Breath of the Infinite here feels like it would just blow out the game. There's also the option to Cabal Acolyte and steal out the Jandis or the Stealth Minion, or actually even the Necrom Apothecary. A lot of fodder for that.
I guess so, yeah. We're not really playing the Anubis Defender decks, though, you know, so that card's gotten way worse. Some really interesting stuff. Mirrors on the Infinite, of course, is particularly fascinating, but not playable until next turn. Oh! Steals. Like, steals a 2/5, and so now Zalae's just in such a far. He's just so far ahead that Bloodyface is just gonna die.
He's just gonna die. I don't think there's any outs here.
There you go.
Shadow Step the Waste Warden to deal damage to the dragons. I
Wait,
don't
but what
think
if it's the no? I think that's the one that's taking damage. It I think that's the one where if it takes damage, it dies. That is interesting, though.
I mean, those 5 cards on the left have been there since like turn 2. He just hasn't had the opportunity to play them. Those are the cards that you want to use, the cards that generate value to beef up, not to just play them on the board.
Yeah, this is looking pretty bad here for Bloodyface. Looks like he really has to try and hope that Priest does not have any way to stack the board. And Zalae has 6 damage on the board. His Murzon could play Eviscerate, but it doesn't seem like there is lethal right now. Cleric of Scales could pick up Apotheosis. That's only 2 damage.
must consider.
Okay, Shadow Step
On wings of
doesn't really do
destruction.
much.
Double apotheosis.
Unless you-
Oh,
yeah,
no,
we
you
don't
can't.
have
Doesn't have mana.
to play it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah, that's okay. Don't kill him this turn, but just keep up tempo.
He could renew for Inner Fire. But why? You know,
Yeah.
just do the thing that kills him consistently. Set him to 1, and Bloodyface is out of this game.
I get it.
Yep, that's going to do it. Zalae ties it up. And Bloodyface will be most likely turning to his Demon Hunter in Game 3 to take down the Priest, as can't imagine he feels very reliable with his Warrior deck right now. But he did get wins with his Warrior, right? Last time we saw Bloodyface down 0-2, and then he reverse swept with the Bomb Warrior.
Yeah.
So that was the way that he was able to get in the first place to the winner's match.
Yeah, it seems like he's been saving Bomb Warrior for last, though. That's his cleanup deck. Like, all right, other decks, you guys did okay, but it's time for Bomb Warrior to come in and take this series for me. But I do expect the Demon Hunter as well. Demon Hunter, it just seemed today that it's shown a lot of pretty big flaws. It has such a straightforward game plan that one thing can completely tilt the deck. Whereas if it's a top minion, when your removal doesn't line up and you have to sink so much damage into it, whether it's your hand is too expensive and you get tempoed out of the game because you really have pretty limited AoE in the deck. It just seems like it's had a lot of holes that have shown through in the matches that we've seen from it today.
Yeah, I think that there is something here. I think it honestly has to do with like the last 6 cards or so for this deck. I think we've understood that the Soul Fragment package is really powerful in Demon Hunter. I think that people understand that there's some really good stuff still in Demon Hunter, just as its core cards. Like Skull Gul'dan is still just really good. Chaos Strike is still just reliable. These other cards that like Demon Hunter can really capitalize upon to try and pressure with Kane Sunfury is still fine. It's just that are we playing Volpera Scoundrel and a Consume Magic and Eye Beam and all these other cards that are a lot more optional? And I think it's very meta dependent, but at the same time, I think people have such strong disagreements that we're still not even sure ourselves at the moment. All right, so going into this game here, game number 3, Zalae, with the Draconic Studies, finds an Aeon Reaver. That's probably just to make sure that he can be able to answer anything that gets played, whether it's like Magtheridon, for example, and he comes out and doesn't have an answer to it. That'd be a real big problem. So I like that he has a contingency plan. Yeah, Bloodyface has a nice 1-2-3 though, and that's something that this deck actually does sometimes struggle with because they're not primarily a tempo deck, so they have less minions.
These 3-mana 3/6s that Zalae has just been pumping out game after game are putting in some work. It's so annoying to deal with because you want to kill it because you don't want to just get apotheosis. But 6 damage to sink into a 3-mana minion is a lot in the early game and can really mess up your curve. Bloodyface has a decent way to deal with it if he just goes for Soul Shear, trades over his Ooze, and then Hero Powers and pushes 2. Could also Chaos Strike.
Demons.
Yeah, Chaos Strike does make sense because you're still keeping up ultimately with your game plan, which is to build up the resources to be able to start pressuring. So I do like that with the Soul Shear. Makes sense to me. It's not like holding on to Spirit Jailer is super important because you're playing against aggro.
Yeah. Also played around Cabal Acolyte Raised Head. Not that that's
true.
a specific combo you could play around, but it just so funny. It just so happens to work out that way, where now Zalae doesn't have a great target. So, I mean, he could raise it and just play a 3/6 again, but that's damage that he's taking. The Fate Weaver, obviously not active, because he hasn't invoked at all. But it's a 3/6 without taunt, and even though it threatens Apotheosis, like I mentioned earlier, that 3 damage that you're taking might be a little scary.
Your mind is not your own.
All right,
Still a
let's play
2/6
taunt
taunt,
minion.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh.
wait. Well, hold
Ooh.
on. Actually, you don't even really need that. You can just play Volpara Scoundrel and I-Beam.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, and then save the Consume Magic for another really impactful opportunity. But you do,
Yep.
it does get a little bit more awkward, right? Because that means you lose the
I
Outcast
grow
card draw.
impatient.
And then that also means that you can't, if you don't play this turn, you can't play it until after Skull of Gul'dan gets played.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, the Skull of Gul'dan seems like it's more important to get to Outcast, and with this route, it seems more consistent to do it. Get Skull Outcast from the left side of your hand, because you play Volpira Scoundrel and I-Beam here. Next turn, you Chaos Strike and play whatever, and then Skull is active on 6. Was that a mystery? That was a mystery choice, right?
Time grows short.
Yes.
Yeah. Not great. Can get an extra Magtheridon. Or an extra Soul Jailer. Or Spirit Jailer. Cool.
Raise that
so
will
like-
get back
Yep.
that Fate Weaver, and honestly, like, still pretty reasonable.
Your mind is
I
not
don't
your
feel
own.
like I still feel like I'm pretty good in if you look at like the hands here, I think most people will still say that Zalae's in firm control, and you can see that Bloodyface is looking pretty uncomfortable with the situation, given that he's just gotten no momentum.
It's honestly pretty hard to get momentum with Bloodyface's version of the deck, because they're really the only early minions you're playing are Spirit Jailers, which don't really do anything. I guess he had the Ooze too, but you're just trying to draw cards, as much cards in the other game, set up weapons, and then go for big damage push in the mid game. But these Cabal Acolytes are proving to be very difficult. I mean, at this point, he's sunk 12 damage into minions already, and now he's going to have to sink 6 more into this Cabal Acolyte. And Zalae is just kind of acquiring resources and not taking too much damage in the meantime.
Yeah.
So, Chaos Strike wants to be cast here so he can get that skull over to the far left side of his hand. Part of me wants to just consume magic.
Consume
Just to
magic.
push
I thought you were
the
gonna say concede.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say concede, and I'm like, you know what? I feel you.
No.
man. It feels tough because in this situation, you still have Skull of Gul'dan, you still have the Marrow Slicer, but like, you basically have to have Priest to start running dry on resources, and that's really not what they do right now. Like in this position, Zalae could actually just use Wave of Apathy and even keep the tempo, right? Like if he heals his minion and trades, and then just kind of plays that. So it looks pretty clean if you go for Wave of Apathy, heal your Cabal Acolyte, trade into the 1/2, and then play your other 3/6, and then you're just like presenting once again a tough situation for your opponent to have to deal with your board, and you're just falling farther behind.
Yeah. I actually really like that play. Also just Fate Weaver, Fairy Dragon, heal face.
Yeah, I mean, Maybe just wants more Cabal Acolytes.
Another 2/6 taunt. Just put it in the way. I guess, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
I think I like the play that I was talking about a little better here, because you wouldn't be able to keep the 2/2 on taunt, and then like you don't need 2 waves of apathy. This deck already plays light minions. Like you're not holding it for like Glaive-bound Adept, right?
Yeah.
At best, I guess like it's important to have one for maybe like Sociologist Militia if you need it, but I mean that's kind of a ways away, isn't it? Your opponent's barely even shoveled any soul fragments into their deck.
Yeah, he just drew the last one actually, off the skull, which means this next card was not discounted, but at least it was Twin Slice, so not losing out on too much there. Just a 1 mana difference, fortunately for Bloodyface in that instance. Though drawing that soul fragment does mean that his Shard Shatter Mystic is not active, but he could fix that with the Marrow Slicer. It's just, will it fit in? So Marrow Slicer, Twin Slice, Blade Dance.
Okay.
All right, we're piecing it together.
Slowly but surely, finding a way to answer. Now the damage is actually starting to rack in here. This is what we're talking about. Finding an important moment. And for what it's worth, if Zalae followed the play that we're talking about, he also would have just gotten destroyed by that Blade Dance. And that's, I guess that's the power of that card.
Yeah.
It just feels like Blade Dance actually is very similar to Blade Flurry. But it costs 2 still.
And only hits 3 minions. And doesn't hit face like the original.
Right. But I'm saying like what Blade Flurry does now versus what the Blade Dance does for Demon Hunter is
yeah, very similar.
Very comparable, but Demon Hunter just seems to be twice as fast, which is such a big deal.
Yeah. These 3 options, none of them seem super appealing because, as you mentioned, the deck is pretty light on minions. Because of that, I'm tempted to just take Holy Ripple, even though it doesn't seem to have like fantastic application in the matchup. None of the other cards do either, and Holy Ripple's cheap and also heals. And looks like Zalae agrees. I mean, that 1 health most likely will not make a difference, but there is the potential for it to be the difference between life and death, where the other cards may not be. All right, so Acidic Swampoo's Heal Face. Healing Face in this matchup, especially at this point in the game, actually pretty important because, as we've mentioned so many times throughout the broadcast today when casting a Demon Hunter, the deck does have a finite amount of damage. So if they're not piecing their damage together all in a short time frame, then just healing up consistently over the course of the game means that it's harder and harder for the Demon Hunter to accomplish their win condition.
Yeah, it's very true, and I think that like the Demon Hunter, we've seen it just kind of fall off a cliff with its ability sometimes, where it just gets hard stuck into a mode where it can't really break through those defenses anymore. So definitely something to consider as we move closer to finding out who ends up winning this very pivotal game number 3. Bloodyface has 5 through the Lapidary.
Yep. And only 1 soul fragment left.
Maybe it's just time to start ignoring everything, right?
Yeah. Well, the Acidic Swampoos is the only thing that can be targeted by Apotheosis, so I like the I-Beam on that. Fairy Dragon it can't be, so he's not too worried about leaving that up on board. Now is the Cabal Acolyte Wave of Apathy turn. That's... Oh, nope. Okay, yeah. I was like, wait, Galacron?
I think it is.
I'm not giving up my hero power yet.
No, you really need to keep that heal, but like more importantly, this actually starts to swing the pressure the other way because now you're dealing 10 a turn. So now there's like a 3-turn clock from Zalae's perspective. Also, like incidentally, if Bloodyface plays the Magtheridon combo, he's ready with Aeon Reaver. So he's kind of got certain corners checked and mapped out here.
Yeah. Ooh. Full kit picked up. So to consume magic, that'll pick up the Sociologist, which means he's guaranteed to have the second Skull of Gul'dan on the next turn. and then Soulshard Lapidary after that. So starting to piece together some things. We go down the line, it's then Marl Slicer and then Kane or Magtheridon. So he does have lots of damage coming quite quickly in the coming turns. Ooh.
Wow. That's huge. That's so big. Apotheosis to be able to buff a big minion and get a 7 health swing.
I mean,
that's hard to come back from Bloodyface's perspective. Because he has to still deal with that minion.
Yeah. And Zalae now knows what the draws are going to be. At least he knows that there's a random card from Vulpir Scoundrel still in there. He knows that there's a second slice. He knows that there's the Sociologist. So the skull picked off the top, he's pretty confident is going to pick up things that don't deal with a giant lifesteal minion quite well without attacking into it in the case of the Soulshard Lapidary or Marl Slicer.
Yeah, Bloodyface just really devastated, quite frankly, and
yeah.
Skull Gul'dan, I mean, he knows what's gonna happen, right? Oh, he was hoping specifically if he could
for that combo.
Yeah.
He was hoping to dodge Kane as one of the 4-mana slots because now he can go.
Yep.
Philosophy, Marl Slicer, Magtheridon,
Demons.
and then the Shard Shatter.
Yes, exactly. By like having that Kane be dodged, he now has the ability to clear the board, and he has 2 Magtheridons, which is very fun. Very fun indeed. Getting even additional values. He's like, wait, what is happening? And he's like, oh, that's right. You must have discounted it earlier, and that's exactly what happened.
And now that Aeon Reaver choice from Zalae is coming in clutch, I think, because I don't think he would feel comfortable playing Galcron in this situation when there's still so much healing to be done. I mean, at this point, maybe, because there's a Lapidary down, but he hasn't seen a Twin Slice. There's a Marl Slicer he can't deal with. There's a Soulshard Lapidary he can't deal with, which he knows there. There's Kane. There's still a good amount of damage left in the deck. So I think Aeon Reaver heal. Just try and squeeze out every bit of health you can from this Priest Hero power before you transform into Galacron, which it looks like he will have to this game at some point because he's running out of value, and you can't just let the Demon Hunter do whatever they want. Start sticking 5/5s. Oh wow, okay.
Wow. I guess maybe he's feeling that like he doesn't actually have a win condition. He could stall, but maybe he just doesn't feel like he can output enough damage in return. But I mean, it is also the same the other way, which is maybe he had like enough opportunity if he was able to just outlast Bloodyface.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a really tough decision. The more we like break it down, I'm sure like Zalae has more of the information since he has things like deck tracker and whatnot to be able to make that educated decision. I feel like he's saying I can't outlast the damage or burst here. And I think also because, sorry, just one last thing. He also knows Sociologist is in the hand, right? Because he kind of just saw the way the draws panned out for Skull Gul'dan. So like he has to. I think he doesn't have an answer. He doesn't have like a very strong answer if Bloodyface forces him to AOE beforehand, and then he doesn't have an answer to Militia. So like I think Zalae is like trying to basically find a way to win from this point on.
Huh. Yeah, I guess I just felt like he could have found his way to win was just run him out of damage. I guess the bigger thing is like knowing that there's a second Magtheridon there. Maybe that's the if he plays Magtheridon, they can dump something next to it. and Galakrond's no longer guaranteed to kill one big minion. But giving up his heal means that bloodyface just needs that much less damage.
Right. Now he only has heal for 1 in the form of Holy Ripple.
Yeah.
So like bloodyface doesn't even have to worry about maintaining board control, right?
Yeah, well now the Aeon Reaver comes down and if bloodyface were to stick a Magtheridon, which he technically could.
And he should know about it because he saw Philosophy and the Magtheridon was just played right after.
Yeah. Alright, so let's...
Demons.
He's ready for the Sociologist, that much is clear.
Yeah. Well,
Put some soul into it.
let's take stock of the damage that bloodyface still has left in his deck. He's got a Cane. I believe he has 1 Eldrazi Warblades left.
Okay. So that's
Another Twin Slice.
7. 11.
And a Vulpir Scoundrel.
So if we count the second slice, so that's 13 just from the damage generated. Let's say he layers that over the next 3 to 4 turns. He's got 14. So that's like 17 damage that's still left that he can kind of push out here. Oh, but like things like Twin Slice are drawn at the very bottom, right?
Well, he's shuffled the fragments, so...
Yes, you're right. He just shuffled the fragments. Okay, well, this board is gonzo. But...
no development.
No development again, and kind of exactly what we're talking about. Zalae's trying to figure out desperately a way to get it stabilized, but Kane Sunfury just comes to the hand, and that's 4 damage to Zalae, who has no answer to this directly.
Oh man, if this Cane sticks. Oh.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
But there's only 6 damage from bloodyface on the other side. 7 cards left in deck. 2 of them are soul fragments. Because he's got a Twin Slice left, Vulpir Scoundrel left. Both would be lethal outs unless Zalae finds a way to deal with it. Shadowy Figure's not it. And there's not much other stuff left. I'm trying to look through. He does have a Blade Dance remaining. Which actually could act as some removal.
What if?
Eldrazi Warblades would also be lethal.
Yeah. Because there's so many lethal outs, I think Zalae has to play pretty optimistically here and probably just double develop or triple develop, like Mind Flayer, Dragon Maw, and the Shadowy Figure, and just really go for broke here.
Yep.
Oh wait, actually there's a really interesting dynamic with the Shadowy Figure, yeah. Either way, oh my goodness. Big pickups from bloodyface. That is game-ending damage. That is game 3 over to bloodyface. And now he is 1 game away from going to Sunday yet again. Or rather, Sunday yet again in his Grandmasters career. Last time, we saw bloodyface narrowly miss out. But we shall see how bloodyface is able to go through with his last game with his Demon Hunter. Bloodyface just able to outlast the priest here, and
that was insane.
Zalae's down to his own Demon Hunter deck. No, he just lost with Demon Hunter. His Druid deck. I apologize.
Yeah, his Druid.
It's been a little bit of a long day. I'm messing up here.
So bloodyface has Demon Hunter and Bomb Warrior left, and I feel like there's some decent matchups against the Druid on that side. Bomb Warrior in particular. I think that even though we haven't seen the matchup go towards the Bomb Warrior much, I feel like that's still a favorite matchup. But Zalae now win 2 in a row with Druid. He did perform a sweep in his last series with Druid. Obviously feeling pretty comfortable with the deck. Was playing it very well. But is it enough to beat both Demon Hunter and Bomb Warrior, the Soul Demon Hunter and Bomb Warrior? Not sure. Not sold on it yet. But, I mean, if you look back to the beginning of that game, Zalae was so far ahead. And bloodyface just systematically killed everything they played for a long time. I thought he was going to run out of damage, but then pieced together just enough. That was his last turn to deal damage, and that was one of the only things left in his deck that dealt damage. And if Zalae had a tiny bit more healing,
right?
He was gassed, yeah. There's always, like, you can always talk about the possibility of, well, Pure Scoundrel and the Inner Demon, and that's what seals him the game, but those things don't happen very often, and Vulpire Scoundrel is less and less likely to pick up, like, just straight up burn. With Skullman's Academy adding like just some like additional utility spells to Demon Hunter's spell arsenal. All right. Oh well, this is a decent opening from bloodyface. Well, Pure Scoundrels I like because it helps you craft a game plan, and there's really these are the only 3 minions that you kind of place on the board in the early game, which adds up against Druid because they're just wanting to ramp in the early game. Well, but most of the time they're just wanting to ramp into a game. Sometimes they overgrowth or double lightning bloom innervate a guardian animals, and then their early game is the most insane early game out of any deck in Hearthstone. But most of the time they're not really playing anything. They're not removing anything. They're kind of just waiting to their power turns, trying to accelerate their power turns. So, see if bloodyface can do it again.
Yeah, I mean, last game was very impressive with the way he was able to mount that offensive. And, you know, Zalae, I think, had opportunities to potentially stabilize, but, like, his game plan wasn't really able to formulate into a counter pressure. And then when he played the Galakron and tried to, like, have an opportunity to generate that win condition, it just never came. And so Zalae is now down to his final deck, his last chance to go to top 4, and you know, so they could really use that just for a big confidence boost, and also just to help put himself in a really good position to be in Division A. Last season, Zalae did so well in Division B, and it kind of made life a lot more stressful than it needed to be. And only 8 players can go there. Getting that extra point for just advancing through is such a big deal.
Yeah. Ooh.
Fell Guardians. That's
no.
There's no way it's that pick.
No.
I remember I tried playing that card and it just wasn't really working on the first day of the expansion.
Even if 7 minions die and you play a 0 mana spell that summons 3 1/2 demons with taunt, I still don't feel like it's fantastic.
Well, 0 mana summon 1/2 demons with taunt is actually pretty bonkers, but it's usually you're trying to summon synergy with it. You're supposed to be playing like you know, some of the Illidari rushers and then play like Knife Juggler and other things like that, but generally not super successful.
If they were 1/2s with rush, then you could play that the 3/1 that whenever a minion dies, deal 3 damage to a random enemy.
Right.
That card. Then you could kind of have some synergy with that, but as it stands, not a huge fan. Zalae going to go with the early Twilight Runner here to try and hit some ramp. Mana Burn.
Okay.
Honestly, pretty good right now.
Yeah, Mana Burn looks great in this position, to be quite honest.
He could save it, see what Zalae draws off this Twilight Runner. If he draws ramp, then going to the 7 mana turn, you can Mana Burn him down to 5 mana, so he can't play like Guardian Animals. Because Zalae coin innervated out Twilight Runner, which means that his hand probably isn't good. But I think you're just taking kind of the tempo here and saying, all right, you're not really going to do much, and going into your next turn. And did hit the overgrowth. Wow. And the guardian animals.
Wow. But what do you do with these last 2 remaining mana? Is more of the question here. If you heal with Crystal Power, you might need that to remove instead. But like, you also really want to get to the point where you can play Iron Bark for free. Next turn, when you play Overgrowth, you will get those Iron Bark to full discount.
Problem is, will he have anything to play on that turn? Even if you Crystal Power your Twilight Runner, I don't think you can expect it to live. In which case, don't play anything. Okay.
All right.
Blade Dance.
We'll see. So Soul Shear, and I guess the Warglade is totally fine to just develop here, or Warblades rather.
Bloodyface still needs a little bit of an engine here. Needs to pick up Skull of Gul'dan or Lord Keeper Polkelt. I would even accept a Chaos Strike at this point. So like 1 dead turn, and then next turn he can start popping off both Guardian Animals and Exotic Mount Seller.
Glorious, TJ. It's got so much power behind it because he's got the option for Guardian Animals, or he can play Exotic Mount Seller plus a bunch of stuff and then rush them. It's pretty nasty. But for Bloodyface, how do you best anticipate that? You just saw Overgrowth, so you're kind of anticipating a big turn. Well, you're not a turn 7, but an 8 mana play here.
What if you Magtheridon and preemptively kill 2?
Okay. I mean, that actually sounds like a reasonable line.
Because then Zalae doesn't want to develop into it, because all Bloodyface has to do is kill 1 more. And then it clears the board entirely. Okay, oh yeah, that's sick.
Yes. That's actually super clever. I like that a lot.
Actually, maybe only preemptively kill 1 so that Zalae can't kill off his own as easily before he plays things. It doesn't matter.
I don't think it actually changes too much, but either way, this is still a very annoying board for Zalae now.
Yeah, so I think Zalae has to bump Crystal Power his own Warden and then play Guardian Animals. Or Exotic Mount Seller with Iron Barks.
Right.
But the Guardian Animals wouldn't kill it. Teacher Pet's in his hand, he wouldn't have a taunt, he's taken 12.
That's actually no. He does have trouble dealing with that too, right? So he has to be really careful how much he extends onto the board here. But he also needs to do something because I don't think he can afford to play at the pace that Bloodyface would want him to, which is like slightly slowly extending onto the board.
Yeah.
Time waits for no one.
Right, Guardian Animals it is.
Okay.
Time to choose.
So what he's going to probably try and do is use an Iron Bark here. Oh, no. So his plan is just, he's okay with these minions dying. He just wanted to draw cards. And then next turn, he pops off with Exotic Mount Seller and puts taunts in the way so that Magtheridon can't hit face. Now, this is better. Because the original play that I suggested was to Crystal Power his own Warden to pop the Magtheridon before he went off. But his Exotic Mount Seller wouldn't have actually been that huge, and he would have used a Crystal Power, and he would have been even more susceptible to AoE since his Exotic Mount Seller couldn't get that big Blade Dance plus a little bit of extra damage would have blown him out of the game.
Right. The only thing is that now, because he extended this only this far, is Bloodyface incentivized to actually do anything besides just like kill his board?
Actually, no. That's a good point.
Doesn't actually have to summon Magtheridon here.
Yeah, he could just like Soul Shear the Twilight Runner and then sit and see what his next draw was. But, whatever. I'm taking a 12-12.
Oh, it seems totally fine. It's just one of those things where, like, I would also completely understand if he felt like, okay, well, you didn't really do much here. I don't actually have to do much either. Crystal Power gone.
And
kind of annoying, actually.
Bloodyface also re-equipping Marl Slicer and pushing damage. This means with Kane next turn, he is setting up for a 2-turn lethal even through Iron Barks.
Yeah, that's actually really clever. It's the broomstick.
Yeah.
What? That's so big! The King Mukla is so statty that he should be able to actually kill his Magtheridon, unless Zalae wants to get greedy with it and not trade stuff in. Also, if he finds a single Emperor Cobra.
Time waits for no one.
You Crystal Power the Python. If you're gonna play Broomstick to have more damage to rush. Silverback Patriarch.
He probably feels so safe. But DJ, is he really safe?
So he's got to heal his face and then hope that he gets something big, rush them all in, get Zigzor. Does he have enough damage? He does, but he has to trade everything in. Did he get it off?
He didn't get his attacks. Did he? Wait.
He's dead.
Oh.
No, he's not dead yet. He needs
He's
a
not
little
dead
bit more
yet,
damage.
right?
Yeah. But there's limited minions on board now. But Blade Dance doesn't touch it. He has to trade Magtheridon into something, right?
Well, we'll see. Hold on. See what he draws with Chaos Strike. Maybe he gets like twin slices?
How about a Soul Fragment? Consume Magic!
What? Wait a second. I mean, this Blade Dance is gonna dance. Oh!
Wait, he didn't Chaos Strike first!
Wait, yeah, wait, what? Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's silence,
yikes.
but still. Now it kills...
Oh, jeez. Oh, he's so embarrassed.
He's still probably going to win, but that's an uncharacteristic mistake from Bloodyface. But hey,
And you almost wish that it just hit the broomstick, so that way you couldn't have shown the misplay.
But hey, I mean, it's 11 p.m. in Bloodyface's Georgia. He's been either playing Hearthstone or waiting around to play Hearthstone for 8 hours now.
Yeah, we're in
At least
hour
8 hours
right now of Americas.
I don't blame him for that. His fingers were one step ahead of his brain.
Yeah, 6 damage, by the way, in the hand of Bloodyface. The moment he picks up a twin slice, this game is over. If Zalae passes and he doesn't do anything about it, is there a way for Bloodyface to end the game right now?
No.
No, but he can go ahead and play the Sociologist. Kind of unfortunate that he actually drew a Soul Fragment right there. Still a lot of pressure. And remember, Kane Sun Fury means that any taunt isn't going to be able to do it. Zalae. Huge trouble right now. Oh my goodness. I-beam.
I mean, he doesn't need any removal because of Kane. Like, protecting the health on his minions has more value than anything because the only thing he would need to remove would be a taunt. And,
Nature studies? Can it do anything here? Any magic that can happen?
like, he could go for Exotic Mount Seller, play a bunch of spells, and get taunt/rush minions. he could go for, which is way more likely than Ysera Unleashed into like Lightning Bloom, Wild Growth, try and get more because they only have one draw and not even guaranteed to get one. So this is the best way he can survive.
Gidra can maybe do something really powerful. That's not the Mooklas you're looking for. It's not even Mookla at this point. You really just need Diving Griffin and Rushers.
The educated Elec. I mean,
Healing
touch.
Got a Healing Touch?
Okay.
Okay. No taunts though.
Yep.
And I think that means he's just dead anyways. Bloodyface, he's furling his brow, he's nodding, just watching this weird circus of beasts, 3-cost beasts.
It does
Dance
look
for
like
him
a
as he
circus.
is going to the top 4 on Sunday. And that'll do it. Hard day of many battles, but Bloodyface once more is appearing in the top 4 in the America's Grandmasters program. And Zalae fought really well. He got really deep into the tournament, but he's going to have to take home a 5th and 6th place here in the second week of competition. But if he's able to do that again, he should be able to also be in a good spot to make a Division A. So not all bad news for Zalae fans.
Yeah, he played some solid Hearthstone today, and I think he should be proud of his performance, but just kind of fell slightly short at the finish line, and got a feel for him since solid Hearthstone, a lot of Hearthstone as well over the course of the 7.5 hours or however long we've been live now. So valiant effort, but unfortunately falls slightly short. And I feel like if you cut off the left half of this bracket to show me Eddie versus Bloodyface, I've seen that so many times over the course of Grandmasters. Even just the history of Grandmasters, it's the consistency of these two players is immense.
Phenomenal. It's been quite the pleasure to watch, and we've been very fortunate to just see a lot of consistency out of the game where, honestly, it's just hard to be consistent. That's kind of what makes impressive to see these players do it time in and time out. But Eddie and Bloodyface will once more get chances in top 4, but they're going to be challenged by 2 players from tomorrow's group, as we have Language Hacker going up against newcomer to GM Briarthorn. Then we have Monsanto going up against Empanizado, and that's going to be tomorrow at Saturday whenever Europe ends. But that brings us to the conclusion of today's broadcast, TJ. Another start to the week, another really long day. It looks like America's. It was kind of continuing on the trend from last week of really long fought wars of attrition. But any thoughts to wrap up the day here?
No, I'll keep it short. It was fun games today, albeit long games, and looking forward to seeing some more tomorrow. That's it.
All right. I don't really feel like we need to add much to that. So congrats to Eddie and Bloodyface, and we'll see you tomorrow. Make sure to check out everything for Hearthstone Esports here, either on the YouTube channel or playhearthstone.com/esports. You can find all the deck lists and standings and everything else relating to the program. So from Frodan, TJ, and everybody else as part of the Grandmasters broadcast, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for more Hearthstone action.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile.